Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Shorten Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.
From Mansers on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge, we're out to lunch with the editor of the Baton Rouge Business Report, Stephanie Regal. It's business Baton Rouge style.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Regal. Welcome to Out to Lunch. In just 10 years, America will cross an important demographic threshold. By then, all of the country's baby boomers will be 65 or older. And this will expand the size of the nation's elderly population so that 1 in every 5 adults will be retirement age. What are we doing to prepare for this, and who's looking ahead to the not-so-distant future to prepare us for the changes this shift will bring to our institutions, our economy, and our way of life? With me today to discuss this is Matthew Rachleff of Aging 2.0, a business connection and innovation platform for the aging and senior care sectors. Aging 2.0 is a national organization founded in San Francisco that aims to spur aging-focused innovation through 80 groups around the country that promote collaboration and entrepreneurship. Matthew heads the Baton Rouge organization. It's a natural outgrowth of his day job as CEO of Navion, a communications platform that helps the families of critically ill patients communicate more effectively with the doctors and hospitals that care for their loved ones. Now, you may remember we had Matthew on the show a couple of years ago to discuss Navion, and we want to hear about its evolution since then, but Aging 2.0 is such an important and relevant topic. So thanks for being here today, Matthew, for coming back on to discuss this with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
And joining me and Matthew is Toni Philips, founder of One Up Fit, a local fitness program that seeks to educate and deliver fitness training in a playful atmosphere for seniors and others. One Up Fit is particularly focused on helping its clients gain critical skills to prevent falls and also to enjoy remaining vitally independent. Toni created the program several years ago after she herself experienced a fall and needed a hip replacement. In the years since, she has developed training programs that she teaches in classes at various facilities all around the city that cater to the market's elderly population. She also is an example of the kind of partner that Aging 2.0 seeks to work with. And Toni, it's a great story, and we're happy to have you on today.
Thank you so much, and we're really excited to be here today.
Well, great. Matthew, Aging 2.0 was founded in 2012 in San Francisco, like I said, by a couple that they look terribly young based on their website pictures, and all the people on their core team look so young also. How did they come up with this idea, and how did you sign on and get involved to head up the operations here?
So one of the founders is a gerontologist who specializes in the needs of older adults, and really just recognizing as part of the San Francisco culture that there was a need to really shift the conversation from what they call Aging 1.0 to Aging 2.0. And really the idea is that how aging has been thought of in the past has been like it's a challenge, it's a healthcare issue, it's for old people only, it's very philanthropic oriented and mission driven, and really how do we take that and create sustainable models to really improve experiences and outcomes and not see aging as a challenge and a time of decline, but of an opportunity to really reset the table and have meaningful experiences and actively choose the types of lives we want the same way we do the rest of our lives, and not just, this is the time for like an end. And I think often my grandmother, by the time she was in her 50s, sort of wore a nightgown all the time. She didn't go. And so the idea is today people are much more active for much longer periods of time, and the opportunity from an innovation and entrepreneurial standpoint, it's a vast untapped market. As you said, the baby boomers, the silver tsunami is coming, and very few companies have been focused on creating products and services for them. But what we've seen through the network is an explosion in companies big and small trying to understand and serve that market.
So is it really about a reshaping the conversation and the way we think, or is it really at the end of the day a business-driven effort to help companies take advantage of this, right, and better serve the emerging market?
So that is a great question. I think part of what they're doing is trying to shift the conversation, and so the interesting thing about this, it's a completely volunteer-driven organization, except for a very small staff in San Francisco, and it's city-based. So the idea is that Aging 2.0 is really a convener that brings together people from across different silos and communities to talk about what they're doing, to see where there are opportunities for collaboration and business opportunities, and to bring entrepreneurs of any age as they think about things that are where they see issues. So for people who aren't themselves older, they have grandparents.
Right.
And one of the most successful companies right now out of England was started by a 23-year-old, I think, who saw the need that there was no resources for families that had a loved one with dementia. And he basically built an Amazon type platform that has products and services for families who are caring for someone with dementia, and it's exploded because there's so little resources out there. So that's a good example. So it's definitely driven by supporting entrepreneurs and innovators, but really connecting with them, with the audience they're trying to market to. So to your point, a lot of the team members look younger. They have two things to address that. One is that the whole philosophy behind Aging 2.0 is designing with, not for aging populations. Mm-hmm. And they encourage every chapter to have like a chief senior officer and really make sure that there's someone at the table that represents who we're trying, who we're working towards, and as we think about that. So.
One would hope. Well, and Toni, you're a perfect complement to this discussion because you're in this space very much with your own fitness program that you bring to the elder population here in Baton Rouge. And your story is so unique. You got into this after you broke your hip in your early 60s, late 50s?
Yes, and it's a great story because it turns out that it was a tragedy to begin with, and it turned out that I started a company because of it. And I fall into so much of what Matthew just stated in that idea that there's so many of us out there, like myself, although, I did start this because of a need that for myself and then for others that I worked with as I was doing fitness. There's just so many people starting businesses in my age group, and actually it's a very large group of people. And I was just recently at a national conference for American Society on Aging, and we saw so many people there starting businesses, and many of them 70 and older. So it was really exciting to be there and see all of these amazing networks that we have. And again, as Matthew mentioned, the silos are reducing because we have programs like Aging 2.0 to help us be able to get our message out and also interact with other groups because we all want to be supporting each other. Aging has so many great needs.
Absolutely.
And there are people doing good work, but there's still so much to be done because I don't believe, and maybe I'm wrong, Matthew, you might speak to this, I feel like there's not as much planning that could have been done in preparing for aging, and so there's a lot of need out there.
Well, because people don't want to think about it,
Really.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like dying. I mean,
Right.
It is.
Well, it really is actually quite remarkable. And one of the things that's interesting about the format is that they have sort of 8 large focus areas, and every year they pick 2. And so the 80 chapters across, so it's global, they're in 19 countries. They all have events that focus on different kinds of formats, but talking about these events. So to your point about planning, like one of the areas of focus is around financial well-being. And for a lot of aging people, they suffer from macular degeneration. So a thing that happens that's shocking is that they can't read and pay their bills. So they get their heat turned off or they miss their rent. So there are a lot of innovative companies that are creating financial service models to address just that. And that seems like such a simple thing that can be solved.
Sure.
So really the opportunity to explore what works in our community, and then for things that are successful, be able to socialize that across the nation and globally. I mean, that's really the opportunity, is to be part of a global network that's really looking at how to support not just people who are aging themselves, but the sandwich generation, which are raising kids and taking care of parents. I mean, it affects all of us,
Very effective.
wherever we are. And I think to the point about planning, whether it's for your health, what are your wishes if you get very sick, what's your financial plan, all of that is stuff that the earlier you can address it, the better off.
Sure. And with respect to the fitness component of it, Toni, I mean, that's so sort of ubiquitous in our society across the generations now, but probably the oldest Americans among us didn't grow up exercising like we did all the time, and now you're helping them. I mean, who are your clients and how do you reach them, and what are you bringing to them?
That's a wonderful one. Our clients are not what you think, actually. We do have the oldest, and they were not the exercisers. But we also began the program to help people that were in my age group because I was working with that group, and I saw so many people that if I was teaching Zumba Gold or I was doing water therapy, I would find people coming to class that had been injured or bruised or broken an arm or some type of injury. So I developed it based on that model. The reality is, as I'm developing this program now, the children of those parents are saying, hey, can you do a mom-daughter? Can you do people want to do it younger, because one thing we do know, everyone is falling, and the pitfall is it's not about age. We have a lot of reasons people are falling, partly lack of exercise, in my age group in particular, I'll say that 65 and older used to be the gurus of exercise in the past, and now there's about 75% of the population does little or nothing. So it's
75% of the population does little or no exercise?
correct.
Wow.
So we're really trying to encourage, and that's my program is about bringing the joy, bringing the fun, having people have a great time so that they'll want to come back and keep doing it, because biggest issue is getting exercise, but then there are some very specific things that we do that make a big difference.
And did you develop this curriculum on your own? Did you have to go back to school or get some training or certification?
Well, actually, I've had a lot of training already because I taught a lot of different coursework through Arthritis Foundation, but I did have specific training in senior fitness. I am a science educator, a retired science educator with a background working with the National Science Foundation. So I've got a pretty strong background that gives me the support I need for doing the kind of work I do and doing my own research. And we do a tremendous amount of research to build the program appropriately. The physical component of it has been very well developed nationwide. Mm-hmm. The biggest challenge we have with programs for people in this generation is they've not developed programs that are engaging or fun, and so people aren't going. So everything turns out to be like physical therapy, and it's like, I already did physical therapy, I don't want to do that again. I didn't enjoy it the first time. So we're changing the whole dynamic. We use color and fun and music and socialization. So we bring in elements, and I mean really play. We really play so that they walk away feeling like, oh, wow, this is just great. And it's about breaking molds.
Sure.
So,
and you're bringing this to an assisted living center or a facility somewhere? You go to them, they don't come to you.
We go to them. With seniors, typically travel is always an issue, so we even want to assume that people will be able to get where they need to go. Mm-hmm. So we always make the move to them. So we'll go to senior living, a lot of churches. So, Baton Rouge is such a community-centered city anyway. Churches are a great community center, but we also have, we've done it through Humana. So we work in a number of different environments, and we're still a baby, we're still growing.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. I'm talking with Matthew Rachleff of Aging 2.0 and Toni Philips of One Up Fit. We'll be right back after this very short break. You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. I'm talking to Toni Philips of One Up Fit and Matthew Rachleff of Aging 2.0. Matthew, are you seeing other businesses like this in this area, and are you through Aging 2.0 helping them to try to put the pieces in place so they can scale up, whether it's fitness or whether it's technology or whatever it is?
Right. I think one of the goals of starting the chapter, so we launched in September.
Okay.
And there is a global startup search program within Aging 2.0, so we're going to be participating in that. But it's really identifying potential entrepreneurs and really making them aware of the opportunity in the aging space. I think for a lot of people who are starting, especially the younger people starting out, there's they think much more in terms of what's immediately available for themselves in their age group.
Sure.
But once you understand the scale and scope of the opportunity, there really is a wonderful opportunity. So we're really hoping to encourage more people to look at starting businesses and meeting the needs of entrepreneurs.
Where are you searching for these entrepreneurs? How are you finding them?
Right, so part of it is just through our outreach program, whether it's on social media, through the Aging 2.0 network, but also partnering and looking to do events with the community college, with LSU, with Southern, and reaching out to where stakeholders are, but also trying to target people outside of that and younger age group. like Toni mentioned, and really identifying people who might have retired from one business but say, hey, I worked at a plant and I know that all the people 55 plus, they have these X, Y, and Z needs that aren't being met. Wouldn't it be great if we can offer them these services? So I think when you think about the Aging 2.0 framework, who are our main employers in Baton Rouge, and what are the needs of the people who have worked in those industries, and how do we support them with tools that can be scalable across not just Baton Rouge but the nation.
Where is the money going to be coming from for this? I mean, Medicare, we know, and people wonder if it's going to be around in 10 years, but obviously the government is going to have to shift the way it pays. Insurance companies are going to have to shift, right? I mean, so, where are the big funding sources? You mentioned the evidence-based, that's what you're going to need to scale up, but then who are you going to take it to? Are you going to take it to the Humanas and the Blue Crosses? Are you going to take it to the Turner Industries or to the,
Well, I would say from Aging 2.0 that it is definitely looking to create sustainable businesses that can meet the needs of elderly aging population. So, obviously there's different segments of the population, and it's not going to solve problems for everyone, but where there are opportunities to create intentional communities, so thinking about how real estate development is occurring, or transportation services, or financial services, or meaningful work. Like, what are the opportunities to bring people together? Like, there's a very successful company out of Denver that basically did a marriage of bringing people together who are looking to do shared housing. So it's like a sort of matchmaking service for housing for people over 65, which is great, right? Because for people with limited incomes, it actually offsets the cost. You can have you're not socially isolated. You're not necessarily living in a huge house where you raised a family. So there's so many, and that's a sustainable model that's grown very fast. So I think there's lots of opportunities to look at what the needs are and then figure out how to build sustainable businesses. That's the goal.
Plug in the other pieces.
Right, because relying on the government piece can be super challenging and very regulated, obviously.
And I agree completely with Matthew. Depending on the government is not really going to be the best sustainable model. I think it's a great format for me presently because I am writing grants to get the research done. But as a long-term projection, our goal was always to go commercial. We'll use basically a model called an affiliate model, and that's kind of termed sometimes for products, but in this case it's really for something, a wonderful program that's out there for Parkinson's called Rocksteady.
Okay.
They do this program, they do an affiliate, and that's my goal, is to get it out there that way. And of course, if it should be that the government should want to fund it through Medicare, Medicaid, whatever that might be, that's fine, and we could utilize that, but that's not going to be our direction because, again, I'm looking into the future and thinking a bit bigger picture, because we can't really depend on what the government might be doing.
And I would say because that's a good question, I think, of how do things get sustainable. Social determinants are a huge component of how people age and what types of health issues they encounter. Mm-hmm. And part of the Aging 2.0 framework is really like thinking through how do we address the social determinants of health as you age. And so living in community, social isolation, and oftentimes the trajectory for people in the healthcare system is that they had a fall, and then all these other cascade effects come downstream. So I think, really thinking about how do we look at our community and where are the gaps. And the thing that's pretty great is obviously we have so many great resources in the city. I mean, Pennington has a focus on aging brain, which ties into dementia, obviously, and Alzheimer's. The mayor has programs that are very geared towards thinking about how to support the aging population. There's lots of nonprofits that are doing really amazing work here, and I think there's academics that are studying things at LSU, at FMOL, I think at the Franciscan University. I think there really is tremendous opportunity to bring people together to identify, well, what are the opportunities of how we can not only improve experiences and outcomes, but also reduce the cost to the city and the state of caring for populations as they age, because the numbers, the demographics are fighting against the status quo, and so we better figure out some new solutions quickly.
And the social determinants to me are so interesting because, so they say 50 is the new 40 and 40 is the new 30, whatever that means. That's for some people.
Yeah.
It's not, but for a lot of people, 50 really is 50 or 70 really is 70 if they haven't had.
Which is the social determinants component.
And so, you're really talking about two different populations, or three maybe, I don't know,
Well, that's true, and I think that's where it's going to take a lot of foresight just to be able to figure how things will go, and always looking forward and searching what's going on in your, and when you say social determinants, it's localized, because Louisiana population has a very different set of criteria for your aging population than you would have perhaps in California or particularly like Arizona. My daughter lives there, and I just came back from Arizona, and what a great difference there is. And there's so many things in place already in Arizona. They're really ready, prepared, doing the work, where here we're still just trying to figure out what needs to be done and where we can get it done.
I love the real estate example that you brought up, because that to me is so interesting.
It's
and I know
a huge trend nationally.
And there have been a lot of, communities developed here recently. I mean, the most progressive one I can think of is out by the Grove, sort of, the Blake at the Grove, and they've got the walking trails that are going to tie into that. They've got retail nearby, so a little bit of mixed use. But are there any others in the planning that you're aware of?
So this is a super interesting topic, but what some of the trends that are happening nationally is that groups of people are coming together, and they're actually building with builders master plan communities that meet the needs of their own needs. So especially for people with higher income levels, they really are trying to plan, well, what is it going to look like from 60 on or 70 on?
Right.
So I think that's one piece. Or more urban areas are taking over buildings, and then they're converting part of the building into common areas so that people can eat together, so you can still live independently, which is what most people say they want.
Sure. But
still have people who are checking in on you, and there are all these really interesting things where people have created all these, like, I'm going to flash my light twice to let you know I'm okay before I go to bed. And that idea of creating intentional community, I think, is going to be something that becomes increasingly important, and also works in terms of the economics for a lot of people.
There's a wonderful step to that also is there's work being done out of California, and they're talking and doing research and building programs to establish homes that are multi-generational again.
Right.
So
see, I love that.
That's what
so you're
is
not
really
isolated
important,
with
because
old people.
no longer the isolation. And the beautiful part is, as we're building these homes and they're looking at the development of these, almost all contractors in the future will be looking at how to build any home so that everyone can live in it, from youth to any age. And then again, in that multi-generation, your children can grow up in it. As you age, your parents age, then they move on, and you're aging, you can all stay in the same environment. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful idea, and that again is also being done in Phoenix, and I actually saw that living and breathing, so it's wonderful.
That's wonderful. Tell me a little bit about the numbers that y'all are working with. Like how many people do you serve, or does your company serve? How many people, and do they pay a fee when they come to your class, or you get, a fee from the assisted living facility?
At the moment, I'm working on grant funds, so I'm actually giving programs to people and having them come in, and we're doing the research, and we're paying them.
Wow.
Eventually, it will be a pay for, and again, as you mentioned, it could be the insurance companies. So as we develop this, although our affiliates will be part of our commercialization, how to pay for the individuals that would attend the programs or the groups would probably come out of one of the insurance providers, because they do have Silver Sneakers and other programs. Those programs are always in flux, and some insurance companies keep them and then they drop them, and so there's always different things going on and changes being done. But those are probably the majority of the providers that would be the ones that would help people get these programs.
And Matthew, what about Aging 2.0? Does it get a finder's fee or a cut of a company that it may successfully bring together with a user or another company, or is it strictly a non?
Yeah, not to my knowledge, and definitely not at the chapter level. So they have corporate members, so lots of Fortune 100 companies are involved with Aging 2.0, and as you can imagine, companies like Uber and Lyft are really thinking about how they can get into the senior transportation business and work transportation to hospitals, food delivery, all of that. So they're close, companies like that are close partners. Procter & Gamble is a key partner, and that's a good example of a company that's been around for, I think, 150 years, but has never developed products for people, specifically designed products for people over 55.
Wow. And
now they've started a whole division and are investing a ton of money to really think about how to meet the needs of people who are aging that really don't have products and services the way that they're accustomed to their entire lives. Suddenly that drops off and you're sort of confronted with,
Right.
products that are associated with this very aging 1.0 version. I think an interesting thing to tie back to what you said is last year they have a global conference in San Francisco each year. The featured speaker was Chip Connolly, who founded Joie de Vivre Hotels.
Okay.
And then got a phone call when he retired and sold it. I think he was in his mid-50s. And these people were like, hey, how would you like to come change hospitality forever? And it turned out to be Airbnb. And he
Wow.
was like, I don't know that. Well, but the interesting thing is he said, I don't know anything about technology. But he became their chief hospitality officer. And he wrote a book about his experience because it really illuminates that the success of companies, and this has been replicated, I think, across Silicon Valley, of these large companies, doesn't require just technology expertise and sort of our 21-year-olds or 18-year-olds. It also requires emotional intelligence. And he really talks about how the future will belong to companies that can marry both of those things. And I think that's just such an interesting example, because you don't think about Airbnb in the way, but when he talks about how the company evolved, and in the book he wrote, it goes into a lot of detail. It's kind of fascinating, and it just shows you that there's an opportunity for people of all walks of life and at all points in time to come together to really build the right types of experience that leverage both the technology that's available, but also meet the human needs, both on the consumer side, but also internally, how people are communicating and able to realize the vision. So I thought that was a great example of how we can rethink how are we leveraging, untapped resources in the country. Right, people have tremendous expertise.
It seems like it would be common sense, but it's not.
It is not. But again, that technology is a wonderful piece too, because surprisingly, many seniors, I don't have the numbers on that, but a lot of seniors are a lot more tech savvy than people give them credit for. And I think 85% of seniors have a smartphone. So as far as things like Facebook, we do a lot of work on Facebook and maintain a lot of information on Facebook because people want access to information. So we're always drawing in things from whether it's, programs for home modification or people who are writing books on senior diet or anything that can bring more information so that we're taking away the silos, because information is everything. And if we can help people keep that quality information coming forward, supporting one another, and supporting the growth of this aging population, because it's slow growing in some senses, but the numbers and the financial future is outstanding. It's amazing. So there's a lot of good stuff out there, but the technology is a really good element, and we all need to keep focused on that as well.
Well, y'all, this is a wonderful discussion. I wish we had time to continue. It just flew by, but Matthew Rachleff and Toni Philips, you all are on the cutting edge of a field that's really clearly at the forefront of where this country is headed, and creating platforms that will make it easier for people to age and to think about aging in new ways, and also opportunities for those who want to serve them. So thanks for taking the time today to share your insights and for being with me on Out to Lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
My guests today on Out to Lunch have been Matthew Rachleff of Aging 2.0 and Toni Philips of One Up Fit. You can find out more about Aging 2.0 and One Up Fit by going to the links on our website, itsbatonrouge.la. The producer of our show is Grant Morris, our technical producer is Eric Merle, our associate producer is Peter Raschuti, and our Baton Rouge business consultants are Charlie D'Agostino and Ann Edelman. If you want to know what we all look like, you can find photos from this show on our website, itsbatonrouge.la, and on our It's Baton Rouge Facebook page. These photos were taken by Carrie Hosford, and you can find more of Carrie's photos at carriehosford.com. You can hear this show and past episodes of Out to Lunch wherever you get podcasts and at itsbatonrouge.la. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsbatonrouge.la and WRKF 89.3 FM. I'm Stephanie Riegel. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you around the table again next week for more business Baton Rouge style on Out to Lunch.
Out to Lunch Baton Rouge is recorded live over lunch at Mansur's on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Mansur's is open for lunch daily 11 to 2, for dinner nightly, and for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. Mitchell Foreman wrote and performs all the music on Out to Lunch. You can hear Mitchell's music anywhere great jazz is sold or streamed, and at mitchellforeman.com. Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Short & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.